Check out these cute little chicken nuggets. Yeah, this is our first year raising meat birds, and in about a week, they're gonna be too big for this brooder, so I have to get them out onto the pasture in a chicken tractor. So stay tuned if you wanna see me build out the John Suscovich style pasture-raised poultry chicken tractor. Hey, welcome back to From Scratch Ranch. Jason here, and today we're gonna build a chicken tractor, specifically the John Suscovich style, based on his book right here, the plans in his book, Stress-Free Chicken Tractor Plans. Got that right, tongue twister there. That John Suscovich wrote. It's part of his farm marketing solutions. And you can pick up a copy from the link down below in the description. I highly recommend it. These are great plans. I love this design. And the book has some detailed instructions, material list, everything you need to know how to build one of these things. As you can see here, I repurposed a hay ring as our chicken brooder. It was perfect. It's really big. I was able to wheel it right in here, put it in the center of my barn, so it's a temporary solution as a brooder. And it's big enough to hold these 27 chickens. Yeah, we have 27 in here. I ordered 25 from Murray McMurray, and they had 2 extra in there, and they all lived, through mail order. It came through the mail, the U.S. Post Office. And this thing's big enough where I even have it blocked off there, so I can have a lot more chickens in here. So next year I might do 50 or 52, or at least have 1 chicken per week. This year I'm just testing this out because I've never done it before, so I ordered only 25. So yeah, this is a great idea. If you've got a hay ring, it's a good temporary portable solution as a brooder. All right, and over here, I've already picked up all the materials I need. So I've got all the wood, the PVC pipe, and the EMT electric conduit that we're gonna need. I've got all of my tools here. I've got my small power tools over here, hand tools, and then all the materials. So the hardware cloth, the tarp, and all the random materials that are needed that are listed out clearly in this book right here. All right, step 1 in the book is gather everything. We just went over all that. So we're on to step 2, which is cut everything. So let's get cutting. Step 3, cut the half lap joints. What is a half lap joint, you might ask? Glad you asked. That is a half lap joint. It's where you remove half the material from both boards and then overlap itself like that. That makes for a much stronger corner joint than doing something like this. And toenailing that in, pocket holes even, not very strong, especially when you start moving it around. You can do this also, overlap it. Screw that together, but that also can come apart as you move this thing across the field. So the best option is a half lap joint, like so, where you glue it and screw it, and that's gonna hold really, really well and looks good. It's the same thickness all the way around instead of something like this. I've done the half lap joints on various projects around the ranch here, and our horse shelter windows and the doors and whatnot, and it looks great and it's held up so far, so good. Okay, so a 2x4 is actually only 1.5 inches thick, and I need to take half of that out, right, for that half lap. So that would be 3/4 inches that I need to take out of there. So using my table saw here, I just need to set my blade right here to 3/4 of an inch using the dial down here. In order to do that, what I used was my ruler here, and I set it at 3/4 of an inch, the square, and put that on the blade and just raised it, lowered it until I got that to be exactly 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so next we got to set the fence. Now, on the end here, we're going to cut out this part, right? So I've measured my 3.5 inches from the end because a 2x4 is actually 3.5 inches thick. So you can see right like that. So we need to measure 3.5 inches out to the outside edge of that blade. Okay, so once I've set my blade depth and my fence width, we're ready to start cutting. And the method I use is just making passes, starting from the outside edge here, I'm working my way in and in and in and in and in and all the way until I get to the fence there, and it blocks me at the 3.5 inches. So it works out great. So I just move it back and forth a little bit, just clean that all out, and we get a nice clean lap joint cut. So there it is, nice clean cut. And didn't take too long either, it wasn't too difficult. So now we have a lot of these lap joints to cut. So that worked out well using the fence here to cut the ends, just like you just saw me do. Now, what if I have to cut something in the middle? So for example, here on this long piece here, I've got two cuts, one here and one here. And that's actually where these are gonna actually go at for supports here. So I need to cut it out of the middle. Well, can't really do that with the fence here. I'm gonna have to freehand it. So the first thing I need to do is just remove the fence. Just pop it off, like so. And I've already drawn my measurements on here, and I'm gonna have to freehand it. So what I like to do is just transfer these lines using a square down the sides, like so, on both sides, just because depending on which way I'm looking. So now that's going to allow me to see when I'm looking down on this. If I'm looking this way, I can see it, the line, and I can see it on this way, looking this way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut one line here, and I'm going to cut the second line there, and that gives me my boundaries, and then all I got to do is work the middle. That makes it a lot easier. So let's get started. Okay, there we go. So now let's check it for fit. Oh, look at that. That is great. That is a nice fit. Okay, that was a little bit more difficult to do because of the freehanding nature of it, but it works. Just gotta be really, really careful not to get any part of your body part around that blade there. Step 4, start putting it together. What's great about this book is that John gives you a cut sheet and everything gets labeled. So here's all of my cuts I just made. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then it skips over to I, J, K, and L. And I think that skip is because these 4 over here are for the door maybe? I'm not sure why he skipped H. But it makes it so much easier, and then he gives a diagram in the book of how it all goes together. With all the labeling of all the pieces and the diagram in the book, this should be easy to put together. All right, it's time to glue and screw. Okay, we got the sides done. That was pretty easy because of the lap joints. So it was easy to figure out how that went together. The back side now, this is the back of the chicken tractor. It's not as clear in the instructions how to do this. And from what I can tell, I believe this side piece needs to go on top like so. And then we'll screw that in on both sides. And then when we lift this up, it'll screw into the sides. That's how that needs to be. So we'll go ahead and throw some screws in here. And these are the longer ones now. I use the shorter screws for the lap joints because that's only going through the thickness of a 2x4. This is going through the thickness of the 2x4 into another 2x4. So this needs to be the longer screw. And I just put one in each first because I want to make sure this is square before I go ahead and put the other screws in. So this raised part's going to be on the inside of the chicken tractor, according to the plans. All right, so we'll stand this up so that this is on the inside. And we'll stand the long wall, the 10-foot wall. We'll move this in right here. So we've got to make sure that this back wall is on the top edge of this one because this is where the wheels are going to go for the back side. Okay, so we're going to line that up. And I'm using the longer screws because I'm going through the 2x4 into the next 2x4. Okay, before I do the bottom, I'm going to do the other side, and then I'll get a little level so we can make sure that's plumb. All right, just to make sure, I want it to be very plumb because that's just how I do it. All right, we're good there. And we'll throw some screws into the end grain of the bottom piece. And what I'm going to do here is, because I don't really like screwing in the end grain, it's not as strong as if you were to go into the side here. So I think I'm going to put 2 more screws in here into the side of this supporting 2x4 here. I think they'll just add a lot more strength. Both top and bottom there. And I'll do it on the other side also. The instructions don't really give you this kind of detail, so hopefully this is helpful for you. This is the instructions or the directions, the book. John, I think, assumes that you have some minimal carpentry skills to be able to figure stuff like this out. And customize it and make it your own. Support it how you want. And for some added support, I think I'm gonna go in this way too, into the back of this 2x4 here. All right, so far so good. We've made pretty good progress here. It's been pretty straightforward, pretty easy up until now. This front wall here with the door and the frame for the door, I hit a bit of a snag. The instruction manual is really, really good until this point here. When I'm trying to assemble the front wall, it's pretty vague because you're going off of a diagram that's hand drawn and you're trying to figure out how does this all go together, and it's a little bit more complex than the rest of it. So I'm trying to figure that out, and it's difficult. There's no real measurements or dimensions on that drawing itself put together, so it's kind of hard to figure out. So I've had to go out and watch some other videos and see what others have done. No one's really shown what they've done, but I've been able to zoom in on the image to see how they built it and get some ideas of how I can build it and how they've interpreted the instructions. So let me show you what I got here. Okay, first the front wall here, just the structure itself. So we've cut out our half flaps here in the front wall. I think this goes this way, and actually inside the two, this wood's a little warped there. There we go. And the door frame actually goes in here. So a part of that door frame. And you can see I've got it, they look short, right? So that's why I was kind of confused on how this all works. But I think those side pieces of the door frame right there come down in here from what I can tell. And I'll get to the door in a minute here. Then we have these 2x4s that go in the corner as support, like so. And then we've got the other small piece here with the half lap cut out there. And this goes just like this on the end, like so. Yep, just like that. And you can see that this half lap lines up here, so that door frame comes up in here. So that's fairly straightforward now that I've got that figured out. We just do that on both sides, and that's gonna, build the structure for the front for that door frame to then mount to. Now the door frame itself, the way it's pictured in the book, laid out, you can't tell really where the joints are at and how, it looks like it's laid out this way, but this doesn't make sense to me. It seems like this piece should go down on the structure, right where we had the half lap joint. Looking at other videos, it looked like what some had done is take the top and bottom, this is the door here, taking the top and bottom and putting it like this instead. It makes the door a lot shorter, but then this all kind of works out, I guess. Maybe not the best, but it works, right? And then now, see the sides extend down into that half lap joint of the bottom piece of the wall. So, and then this board's extra, I guess, or I think I've seen some people put this behind so that the door can't swing inward. So it's kind of a stop on the back side of this. So we might try that. I think what I'm going to do is build this wall out first and then start working the door frame and kind of figuring that out and doing my own thing. But I'll take you step by step on some of that just so you have that information, because it's not in the book. It's not really clear in there. You got to interpret this yourself and build it out how it works for you. So what we're going to do is have the half lap joint down. I'm going to build this upside down because the corner pieces are going to be on the back side here. So I want to put them on top. So put the half lap joint down, and then this is going to go up, so towards me. Then this one, half lap joint down to match, and then right on the end here on that corner. So just like that. Same with this side. That half lap joint down to match that, so it's on the same side. Just like so. Using the longer screws, because I'm going through two 2x4s here. I just want to make sure everything is nice and square. Now we'll basically raise the wall. So just like in the back, I'm going to screw both sides here just to give it that extra stability. It might be overdoing it a bit with the screws, but you know what? We're going to be dragging this thing around the pasture quite a bit. So it's going to have a lot of movement. So I want to make sure it's going to hold together. And we'll just make sure that this is plumb. Okay, so the instructions also give you the size screws that you need. These are the ones I got. I just picked them up at, I don't know, one of the big box stores. But it's just a 1 pound box. So the smaller box is sufficient. I'm pretty much done with all the long screws, got a few extras. So the 1 pound box is definitely sufficient for both side screws. Okay, I went ahead and kind of skipped ahead and bent a piece of conduit into the shape that we need here, so I can kind of see the height of it. And I put one of the side pieces of the frame, I just kind of put one little screw in there just to hold it, because I wanted to see how this was going to work out before I go ahead and build it all out, because I might want to do something different. But that will sit on top like that. And I mean, it would be nice to make this a little bit taller maybe, but okay, sorry about that. That's nothing secured here. So but I think the reason it did it this way is for a minimal amount of waste, because the cut sheet with the pieces of wood that we got, if we had to go taller to make it taller, it would require probably another piece of wood or two. So it's probably an option if you wanted to customize this to make it a little taller. It would work to make it taller if you needed to, and make the door taller. You can adjust all of those measurements. But I think I'm going to keep it since I got everything cut. I'm going to make it just as it's instructed to in the manual. So I'm going to finish building out the front of this. I'll wait on the door. Some good recommendations out there to wait on the door and do that last after everything's done. So that way you can make sure it fits if it's all tweaked in any way. It's probably the best option to wait and do that last. All right, a little glue. And they barely, if you countersink them a bit, they do poke through just a little bit, so you gotta be careful of that. Probably just grind that down if it does poke through. Okay, that's actually pretty sturdy. I really like that design. That works. That works really well. I was a little worried about, the 1x material, but yeah, I think that's gonna do just fine. All right, for the top board, which is gonna come up here like this to frame that out. Yeah, I think I'm gonna wait on that until I get all of the next step, which is the conduit roof structure. Step 5, celebrate. Yay? We're halfway done. That's what it says to do in the manual here. It says step 5, celebrate. So I'm celebrating. Next up is step 5.5, which is not in the manual here. It's my own added step. You don't need to do this, but I'm going to, and that's going to be to stain and seal this. All right, step 5.5 complete. Now 5.5 is a step I added to stain and seal the chicken tractor, all of this wood here, to help protect it so it lasts a lot longer and so it looks good. So this product here that I used is made by Flood. It is the CWF UV. Now that's the important part, UV. So that way it protects it from the sun, and this is a penetrating wood finish. The color I went with is cedar, and that's because this is what I've used all over our ranch. All of the posts and beams and trusses of our house on the outside, and then all of our fencing, our chicken coop, our horse shelters is all done with this product. I really, really do like it. It looks good, and I think because of this UV protection, it helps make it last a lot longer. Link down below if you're interested in this product to get more information about it. Step 6, prepare the conduit for the roof. All right, so using my trusty conduit bender here, and all of my conduit will bend 90-degree angles at the center of each piece of conduit for the roof ridge, and then 45-degree angles on the ends for the overlap where it'll mount to the outside of the chicken tractor. Lining up my arrow there on the line that is 5 inches off the center line, which is there to the left. And then just bend as far as you can go. That would be a 90-degree angle. Okay, it's my first 90. All right, this last piece of conduit here, we're not going to bend. This is going to be for the ridge line right here to tie all the pieces together. So we'll just set that aside for now. Next, we need to bend the ends of all of this conduit here. And to do that, I'm going to use this jig. This is a simple jig that John suggests we build and use to make sure that all of our bends are aligned in the same direction. So we'll do that next. So we just line up so it's vertical here, right in that slot there, coming to the other end. Putting the pipe bender on the very end, like so, and just making sure I'm bending parallel to a 45, which is marked on the bottom here on where 45 is. Okay, just flip it around and do the same thing on the other end. Okay, there we go. In the book, it says to drill 2 holes and throw some screws in there to anchor this to the wood here. And I found that a lot of people were having difficulty doing that. So a little easier solution is just buying these real inexpensive conduit straps and just putting these on. These are just 1/2-inch straps. I'm going to put 2 on each, like so, and just screw these in. And they'll screw it in nice and tight. And I'm just using the 1 5/8 inch screws, the smaller ones. Yeah, there's no way that's coming out of there. Even if a big wind came and, it's not gonna pull that out of there at all. That is in there good. Yeah, it's a real inexpensive solution and really easy to do. So we'll get the other side and finish up the rest. Okay, the other side I had to move it over because I didn't have it close enough so it's lining up on this door frame here. So I'll put another strap back here also. So I went ahead and fixed that one. So you can see I'm putting this all the way to the edge, like so. Yeah, that's really nice and sturdy. So yeah, I think once I get all these done, I'll come back and I'll put a strap on the back here to really secure that there. Now for back here, I'm using a smaller screw just because this is a 3/4 inch thick piece of wood, not like a 2x4 down below. I just happen to have these screws on hand. Okay, now I think this goes on the top. I think that would be the easiest. Gonna be tricky with one person, but just using these zip ties and crisscrossing them like so. Yep. Yeah, this actually wasn't as difficult as I thought it was going to be. Oh yeah. Okay. Okay, once all these are zip tied down, just cut the tails off. Should be good to go. Oh, and I do remember someone saying to make sure to put the actual clip parts down, so that way this doesn't tear the tarp. When you put the tarp on, it will wear the tarp a little bit. So make sure they're all down. Step 7, attach the chicken wire. Well, we're actually upgrading here to the 1/2-inch hardware cloth. The chicken wire is great for keeping chickens in, but it doesn't do such a good job keeping the predators out. So that's why we're upgrading to this 1/2-inch hardware cloth. It does great keeping the predators out. So I've got a 2-foot roll back here that we're gonna line the entire inside with. It's also black. I like the black because it's like invisible. You can't really see it from a distance. I have the 4-foot roll here for the roof. Now this is not black because they didn't have the black in stock, and plus it's not going to be shown, or anyways, because the tarp's going to go over the top of it. But this is a 4-foot roll, and these are both 50 foot in length, so I'll have some extra. But that's kind of the length that they came in on Amazon. So this 4-foot roll here will go over the top of this. And the way I've got all of my conduits spaced out here is a little bit different than what he had in his book. And that's because he only had the chicken wire going over the front and back sections and leaving the middle section here open. And I don't want to do that. I want the hardware cloth completely covering this thing to make sure no one can get in. I know the tarp is over the top of it and it should be fine, but I mean, why not? I'm going to put it over the middle here. So I space them out a little bit differently because this is 4 foot, and it's going to overlap, and I'll be able to zip tie it all together, and it's going to look great. So we got that, and then I've got a pneumatic stapler here that I'm going to use to staple all the hardware cloth on. It's going to be a much faster and easier than using a hand stapler, and I already had that tool, so why not use it? Now, the other thing I noticed is, as I put this hardware cloth all the way around the inside, it's all flush, right? Because of all of the half lap joints that we did. It'll be nice to staple this on here, all flush, no gaps, except for around the door frame right here, where there's a gap where the board here, this half lap, the backside of the half lap joint here with the 1x material. Now, if I was going to put the hardware cloth on the outside, I'd have the same problem in the corners where the 2x4 on the inside, there'd be a gap on the outside if I was to put this on the outside. So I'm going to fill that gap. So when you're buying your 1x material for the door and the door frame, maybe pick up an extra piece if you don't have scraps laying around. I happen to have a scrap laying around of extra. So I cut these to size, and I'm going to just place them right in here like so. So that gives a nice flush surface there that I can staple the hardware cloth to. Now, when it comes to the corners here, I'm just going to bring this in tight, like so. Okay, now it's time to put the hardware cloth on the back side and also on the front side. But the one thing about the back side, it's just wide open in these plans. So I really think that there should be a vertical support here. I'm gonna put a piece of wood, my first custom modification of this design, to put a piece of wood here. Just a scrap piece of wood that I have, and just a 1x piece of material, so it's not gonna add too much weight to this thing. But it'll help, give some structural integrity to this thing. But more importantly, the hardware cloth, it'll give me something to staple the hardware cloth in the middle. And that'll help, make that hardware cloth a little bit more sturdy, so that way it's not this big open kind of area. Also, part of my custom design for a water and stuff like that, I think I'm gonna need that support here, but I'll get to that in the next video. So look out for the next video where I'm gonna go over a lot of the custom modifications to this design. Okay, so I've got this 1x12, I think it's 1x12 piece of cedar here that I'm gonna put right here. I just happen to have this left over from our house build, and so I'll cut this to size and we'll go ahead and put it in. So to secure this to this 2x4, I'm gonna actually use the conduit straps on the back side on this pipe to keep that up there. Down here, it would have been nice if I knew I was gonna do this before, because I could have cut a half lap joint in this 2x4 to kind of set this in and then screw it in. But I need it to be flush with this side here. So I'm just using these rafter ties, I had them. So it's basically gonna go like this to where I screw it in to the back side here and then down in here, and I'll figure out something on this side too with another one. But whatever kind of metal strapping or something to use to make this work. For the conduit straps here, I'm using 3/4 inch screws, since this board is only 3/4 inches thick. Just like that. That'll work. Okay, gotta be real careful with this stuff because it's sharp and it likes to unwind itself. So I'm gonna see if I could maybe just kind of pull this up and over. Like so. All right, well, that wasn't too bad. Okay. Yeah, just like that. Okay, I think I'm gonna throw a few staples in down at the bottom here, and then I'll go ahead and use my zip ties, tie it all up. Just making sure that my distance is the same all the way across, so this is all square. With these poles, pipes in the way, it's a little bit difficult, but you can see how that tended to gravitate down there. Okay, good. Throw a few extra in. So now I need to pull this taut, and I'll throw some staples in first to hold it. I'm just using some snips. Okay, there we go. Now I'll just finish stapling it. So now, just gonna zip tie this all the way up and down. And again, putting the tie on the bottom so it doesn't scrape the tarp, rub against the tarp and wear a hole in it. I'm doing this every 6-8 inches or so. This is actually working out really, really well. I like this. This is super easy. And it looks like it's gonna do a great job holding that. Okay, now just need to clip all the tails. Alrighty, on to the next panel. All right, I'm gonna do, I think, the end first, and then I'll come back and do the middle. Centerpiece, I just stepped inside, just like the other ones. Pull up and over. So in order to do the zip ties on this part here, it's ideally you have two people, one person on the outside, one person on the inside, so you can pass it through, and the other person pass it back through, and then zip tie it in. It's just me right now though, so what I'm gonna do is just kind of put it together like a U shape like this, get it through one end. Now, sometimes these might not fit. This one will force it through. There we go. And then through the next one. Like that, and then put it through like that. So then I'll go on the inside here and secure it like so. So I'll just go ahead and put them all through and then come back in and tighten them all up. Also zip tying here where the two pieces are overlapping, so I don't get this big gap in here. I don't want them to fly up and get hurt by that. So I'm just putting a few zip ties in just to kind of bring that together. Yeah, see here? Yeah, we don't want that. Okay, for the back side here, I'm just gonna unroll this sideways. This is the 4-foot roll here of the hardware cloth. So I'll just cut my piece to size as close as I can get it. All right. I'm gonna throw just a couple staples in to hold it. So I'll make sure it's square on there. It's gonna go along the bottom, holding the bottom of the hardware cloth with the bottom of the board. So I should be able to stay square on it. Now I'm just gonna cut the vertical here, just along the board. Just like so, and then be able to lay that flat over like that, and I'll zip tie this on. I don't know how necessary it is to cut any of this excess off because it's going to be a tarp over the top anyways, and that's just more work. So I'll just leave it. For the front, I just cut a small piece like this that I will staple on and wrap over. Pretty simple. Step 8, celebrate again. Not quite yet. I gotta go back to step 4 and finish this door. All right, this door here is a bit tricky. It's not really clear in the manual here on how it goes together. It has all the measurements and the cut sheet and everything, and I cut everything, measured everything, how it says in here, but trying to put it together, it just doesn't seem to quite work. So I'm not sure what I did wrong. I tried to follow it as best I could, but it's just not working very well. So I'm gonna have to do something creative here and come up with my own solution. Okay, so what I can't figure out about the door design is, I guess, this height too. It's, in the plans, there's the half lap joint here. So I just thought this side piece of the door frame was supposed to go in the half lap joint. That makes sense. It's going to give stability to this thing. But then there's two boards that are cut for top and bottom that are in the instructions. So I'm not sure. I mean, the top, okay, that makes sense. But now I've got this gap up here. Bottom, I don't know where that goes. I'm not sure what I did wrong here, but it would make sense if this whole thing was up a little bit, and this, I guess, I'm not sure. This needs to be taller though, if we're gonna do it this way, you know, like to this height. So I think the measurements are just a little bit short on the verticals here by this width here, right? The 3.5 inches. Because he's not accounting for the half lap, I guess. So anyways, it is what it is. I think what I'm gonna do is just put the top piece on here and then just double it up. You know, that, or I'll cut a custom piece that's thicker, like a 1x8 or something like that to put there. It's just more of a bigger header across here to close that in. The other thing is the door itself, as you can see here, I don't know how this is supposed to go because the height, this is the cut for the height, which does fit in there, like so. I'll have to trim it a little bit just so there's a little bit of a gap there so it will swing once I, you know, put that top piece on there. But then the horizontal pieces are the full width. So that doesn't make sense. You would think it would be like this and cut shorter and the other piece on the side here, or on the bottom like so, and it'd be taller. Well, that just doesn't work. So these measurements just don't quite work out. Now, maybe it's supposed to go across the top here, but that wasn't really clear. I think I've seen some people out there that have done it this way, where they just do it in a overlap like that. They'll staple on their hardware cloth and just build the door like that. Now, we'll give it some stability, but I don't think I like that. I'm thinking I'm gonna do something a little bit different. But as you can see, it's a little tricky. It wasn't really clear on how to do this. I think, knowing what I know now, I probably would cut this 3.5 inches taller. This board right here, the side boards of the frame of the door, because I do like the half lap joint down here like that. And then modify this door. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut this like here so it fits inside. Same on the top. I'm gonna put a centerpiece in here also for more stability. And then I'll use some scraps on diagonal to kind of tie it all together and give it some stability. So that's what I'm gonna do now. Okay, so for this header here to start, I found this piece of scrap cedar. It's 1x8 that I think I'm gonna use instead of the pieces I cut, and I'll use those for something else. I think that's gonna fit there nicely, yep. So I've already measured, so I'll cut that. We'll get this stained, and I think that'll work out better. All right, while I'm waiting for that header piece to dry, the stain I just put on there, I'm gonna work on building out this door. So now I need to cut the top and bottom parts of the door. So I'll go 17, and then I want an 1/8 inch gap on both sides. So I'll probably go 16 3/4 for the braces in the center. So I'm just gonna cut that down to 16 3/4. And since I'm not going to use the top and bottom that I cut for the frame itself, since I'm using that other 1x8 piece that I found, I'll use this for my center brace of the door. So I'll cut that the same. So I'll cut all three of these at the 16 3/4. There we go. Just like that. All right, I'm taking some of these pieces here, the scraps. This is 15.5 inches. It might be in the cut sheet, I'm not sure, but so 15.5, got it all square. So now I just need to cut the 45s on this. Basically right on the Works out well, just right on the corner there. All right, so using my miter saw, go to 45. The other way. Just like that. Screw it in. Okay, for this wood, I am not going to take any chances, so I'm drilling some pilot holes in here. And then using the same 1 5/8 inch screws, we'll screw this in. Okay, so now we just got to do the same for the bottom. Like so, and I'll cut my diagonals. Okay, now that I got the main structure of the door done, it's time to put on the hardware cloth. But before that, I'm gonna just do a quick test fit here. And I'm gonna put the braces, these corner braces, on the outside, like so. Gives it a little extra character. Yeah, that's a good fit. They'll swing. Real nice, yep. And this doesn't seem to get in the way of swinging. It'll stop it. Like so, okay. All right, so I'm gonna turn this over, and I'm using the black, just like on the lower here, the black hardware cloth, and it's the exact width, which is great. Yeah, just like that. That's gonna be great. So just using my pneumatic stapler, and in full automatic, just hold the trigger down and pound. Just gonna make sure it's square. All right, I'm gonna put another piece over it, but for now, I just wanna staple this in. All right, I'm just gonna use another piece of 1x2 that's the full length to put it over this, and I'll screw this in and secure the whole thing. That should do it. That should be a nice sturdy door. And still very lightweight. Looks good. Now I just gotta put my header on, and then the hinges, hardware. All right, so also to secure this top piece to this conduit, I'm gonna use these conduit straps that I have. That'll give some extra anchoring. There we go. All right, and now for the back brace I just cut. Line that up right, like so. Okay, now that the top is all done and secured, I'll test fit the door again, just to make sure. All right, so now I just gotta get my hinges on. All right, so I'm gonna use these shims to raise the door up off the bottom. So I've got the proper clearance. like so. And make sure I got enough clearance on the top. Just like that. All right. Take my first hinge. Moment of truth. Does it swing open? There it is. All right, here we go. Nice. All right. That's gonna work out real well. Oh, I put that on upside down. I think you always want that to be down, so it can't fall down and come out. So I'm just gonna reverse that. Finally, step 8, celebrate again. Again, we've already celebrated. So moving on to step 9, add the finishing touches. And that's the gussets and the rope handle. So we'll go ahead and do that now. All right, moving on to step 10. Finally, add a waterer. Well, that one's easy. I already have a waterer. The book does describe how to build a waterer with the water nipples for a 5-gallon bucket. So if you don't have that, you follow the instructions to build that. But I have one that we bought for the winter, and it plugs in and keeps it from freezing in the winter. So I'm just going to go ahead and use that. It's right back over there, that blue and red one right there. So we'll just hang that, and I'll show you what I got. Okay, let's see what we got here. So first, I've got my waterer here. This is an electric, heated, insulated chicken waterer from Premier One. I'll put a link down below in the description for this. It's really, really nice. Like I said, it's insulated. I'm gonna keep the water from freezing in the winter. I'm just gonna use it for now, for this system I'm set up. It's only got 3 nipples on it, which might be not enough. So I do plan on building out a custom water here on this back wall, but that will be a different video. For now, we'll just use this. And I'm gonna string it up using this paracord. So I'll tie off onto a carabiner here and hook the carabiner on there. And then up along that ridge line up there, I'll use this swivel pulley with a zip tie and just tie that on up there. And then finally, I have a rope cleat I'll stick right here. And that'll allow me to raise and lower the waterer depending on how tall the chickens get, and then tie it off as needed. Step 11, add a feeder. And he's got some really good instructions in here on how to build a trough feeder out of some 4-inch Schedule 40 PVC pipe, which I have right here. So let's get to it. Yeah, so by having it curve in like this, that'll keep the feed inside of it. And so it won't spill out the edges, but allows them to still get in there and eat it. So that's gonna hold a lot of feed. That's great. All right, for the ends, I'm gonna do something a little bit different here. It's a little bit pricier because you gotta buy these parts, but I'm gonna put these caps on the end. I'm wedging that in there to open that up tight against there so it can chemically weld with the cap there. Okay, similar to the waterer here, I'm gonna use this paracord to hang the feeder here. Using the holes, put it through, tie a knot, that'll hold it both sides. But I'm gonna use these swivel pulleys up here like I did for the waterer and string the cord. I think I'm gonna change this around and put the cleats on the outside and poke holes, drill holes through the board there, so that way I can raise and lower these things from the outside without having to come inside. So we'll see how that works out. All right. Good. Run that through the pulley. Yep. All right. Oh yeah. See, this way I can pull it all the way up at night when I don't want to feed them, and then raise and lower it depending on their height as they grow. And also raise it for when I move the chicken tractor so it doesn't slosh around. So it's gonna rub a little bit in there, but that's, I mean, for the few amount of times I'm gonna be doing this, it's not gonna be a big deal. All right, step 12, install the tarp. Got that right here. Got my rained away white tarp, size 10 by 14. And I got this on Amazon. I'll put a list down below in the description of all the things that I bought, just so you have that as reference, in case you want to get similar things. Okay, I think that's good. Now we just zip tie it down. I'll put them through like so, and then I'll go on the inside and put it together. All right, now I need to connect all the zip ties and clip off the tails. All right, done. All right, we are mobile. I got some wheels, one right there and one right there. So now we are on to step 14. Celebrate one last time. Your chicken tractor is done. Woo! Let's move this thing out to the pasture and put some chickens in it.
city life and the crazy nights. Figure I should probably give it a try. Maybe check it out, see what it's all about. But the traffic was fast and the money was slow. The people I met you never get to know. I kinda miss this place I used to live back home. 'Cause up here it's breakneck, paycheck, rat race, what's next?
Well, there you have it, the John Suscovich style chicken tractor. Based on his plans from his book right here, the Stress-Free Chicken Tractor Plans from Farm Marketing Solutions. You can find his book by John Suscovich on Amazon. There's a link down below in the description if you're interested. I highly recommend it. The plans in here are great. I followed them to a T for the most part, except this door here. But anyway, they're great plans. And this style chicken tractor seems to be the top choice by everybody out there. And so far, I'm liking what I'm seeing. And, time will be the true test, and we'll see how this works. But so far, so good. So hopefully you liked this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you got something out of it. If you did, hit that like button and subscribe if you're not subscribed already. And yeah, until next time, keep living the dream. The stress-free chicken tractor plans. Stress-free chicken tractor plans. So there you have it, the John Suscovich chicken style tractor. Chicken style tractor? Chicken tractors style, John Suscovich style chicken tractor.